老师、同学们，大家好。文化资产的保存与活化是21世纪的趋势。1972年，联合国教科文组织在法国巴黎通过了《保护世界文化和自然遗产公约》，从此，世界文化遗产头衔就成为世界各国竞逐的对象。除了显现各国文化的深厚以及文明的璀璨，同时文化资产结合博物馆、观光旅游、教育事业、文创开发等，因而创造了有趣而且蓬勃的就业市场。我们国家定有文化资产保存法，规范了文化资产的不同类型，以及保存与活化文化资产的相关规定。国立云林科技大学文化资产维护系是国内唯一文化资产综合性系所，整合了4项教学与研究重点：保存科技与修复、文化资源研究暨应用、建筑袭产与聚落保存、文化行政与文化经营。文资系招收新增的来源包括了高职生与一般高中生。我们竭诚地欢迎设计群、商管群、化工群的高职生加入我们文资系。下面由本系3位教授分别针对3个群的老师及同学制作如何进行毕业专题的影片，帮助同学撰写跟文化资产相关的毕业专题。
The conservation of cultural heritage is possibly one of the most interdisciplinary subjects that one can study at university. Not only does it cover many different fields, such as the preservation of historic architecture, conservation of books and works of arts on paper, oil painting restoration, conservation of museum objects and the preservation of natural history specimens. Within each field, there are many things to learn and understand in order to protect our heritage to the best of our abilities. Of course, an understanding of history is important in cultural heritage conservation, but it is even more important to have an extensive knowledge about the chemistry of cultural objects. Understanding the chemistry of objects, whether they are books, paintings, historical metalwork or wooden buildings, together with physical structure and how they were created, allows us to understand why and how they have deteriorated. This in turn allows us to plan suitable conservation treatments to halt their deterioration, safeguard their historical and artistic value for future generations, and to tell their fascinating stories to the public today. Every school of conservation has a strong emphasis on chemistry and the physical sciences. This is necessary not only for understanding the objects themselves, but also how objects interact with the environment around us. The paintings, museum objects in Taiwan's museums and galleries, and even the museum buildings themselves, experience a very different climate and environment to those in Europe or most of North America. Taiwan's climate is hot and humid, and this not only influences the objects directly, but also means that insects are much more active, mold can grow more quickly, and metals can corrode easily. Taiwan's museums must also be prepared for earthquakes and typhoons, in addition to all other possible risks to their collections. So, you can see that conservation involves much more than simply cleaning and restoring old things. Of course, these are still very important parts of the profession. If you are interested in working in museums or galleries and have a keen interest in the natural sciences, then you might consider studying conservation. Studying conservation at Yuntech not only prepares you for work in a museum, but gives you a very good basic education in physics, chemistry and biology, as well as risk assessment and management skills. The interdisciplinary nature of the subject leads to different possible future paths to study and self-realization. Above all, it teaches you to observe and understand the world around you in terms of architecture, material culture, and how these all interact with the social and natural environments. If you choose to study conservation at Yuntech, you'll be expected to submit an essay as part of your application. This essay should explain your background, your key skills, and why you wish to work in the field of cultural heritage. This essay can be difficult for many students. What should you include, and how should you begin? It is important to understand that all humans, at all ages, respond well to information that is delivered as a narrative, as a story. We start life listening to stories from our parents and grandparents. Book publishers in Hollywood have created whole industries devoted to storytelling. Even scientific papers are normally structured in the form of a story, even if it is a very formal narrative. You should begin with a very brief introduction to yourself. This should include your main interests and skills, but also a vision of where you see yourself at the end of your course of study. Of course, this is very difficult, but we are not looking for specific targets. Instead, we are looking for students who understand that education is directed towards the future, not simply something that must be done to get a graduation certificate. You should explain what aspects of cultural heritage conservation interest you and why you think they are important to you or to society in general. Finally, you need to sell yourself a little. Emphasize what experience, talents and enthusiasm you can bring to the field of conservation. I say this because as conservators and educators, we have a professional duty to train the next generation of museum professionals. We work in cultural heritage conservation because we think preserving our common heritage is important. We want our work to continue into the future and serve the people who will follow in our footsteps. For this reason, we are looking for the smartest and most dedicated young people to pass on our knowledge to.